Today's video, we're going to go over the process of testing the smart contracts that we use ChatGPT to build. So I'm going to jump straight into things given this is building directly on what we had gone over yesterday, which was using ChatGPT to build smart contracts for us based on prompts that outline essentially what we want the smart contract to do and the utility that the token holders gain as their value proposition. So I'm going to go straight into it. I'm going to share my screen, and I know I have like a billion tabs open right now, but just the way that we run it. So starting back where we left off yesterday, we were able to deploy the contract, and I did mess around a little bit with the functionality, not too much, but I did want to just see what we were working with. And honestly, it looks really good. So we're going to be going back over to Remix. This is the platform that we use to deploy the contract on a test network. We'll be using Remix to, run tests with the different functionalities and utilities just to make sure that the contract is working properly, security features are in place, and this is ready to deploy on live Ethereum. So the cool thing is when you build these projects, especially if you have intricate functions, you'll probably want to create some sort of front end interface that people who own the token can interact with. So like a website, something that looks good and something that's very easy to use. Now, Remix allows us to test these functions with their own front-end interface, albeit it's not the most aesthetic, but it is very practical just for making sure that everything is running properly and smoothly. So you guys can see here, we have a lot of different buttons over here on the side. I'll go through what each of these mean in just a second, but we'll start off with the colors. So the blue colors that you guys see below here, this essentially represents what is called a call. Now, when you call something on a contract, it's essentially, think of it as calling to ask the status of something. So if I was to press, let's say, the recovery address, we get the notification that it called the contract, and then we're able to see what the recovery address that we have set is. Now, I set the recovery address as my second account on my test network, the AB8. So we see down here, AB8. So we're good to go on that. Now you can call pretty much all these different things, total supply. So how many NFTs are available to mint, how many have been minted, NFT, total supply. I wonder what the difference is between these two. But up here in the orange, I think all these are not payable transactions. It looks like it. Yep. So all these functions right here in the orange are transactions that won't be payable, which I believe means that we're not paying something actively to be able to have the function work. Now, I think there is a gas fee as far as what the contract uses, but the payable transactions are going to be the mint NFT. So obviously you have to pay Ethereum to be able to mint the NFT. And then for me as the owner, when I'm ready to deposit some of the profits from my business, that is also a payable transaction, given I'm going to have to put Ethereum into the smart contract. So that just goes over the colors. Now we can dive into the meat and the potatoes. So first function we'll get into is minting the first NFT. I'll walk you through the process that I played around with myself. So let's start with 1.7 since that adds to 8. And we're starting the process of teaching you guys. So we're going to have OX17F be the owner of the contract that we deploy. And so I guess this is just a process of if you were to redeploy it. So that's okay. That works. So when you go to deploy the contract, it's going to have you do the inputs. So for the mint price, we're going to do 810, and that's going to be in Way. That's the automatic denomination that we've got. The initial supply we'll set as 1, since technically we're going to just start off as minting 1, and then I want to show the feature of that we can increase the supply. And then the recovery address we'll put as the one below it, which is 5C6. So let me go over here real quick. 5C6, copy account, boom. And then we'll go back here to make sure that when we deploy this, we have it set as the owner address. Boom. Awesome. So now we have 17F as the owner right here for this contract. Yep, everything looks good so far. Trying to make sure we've got everything good to go. Yep, so we can see that it pulled a little bit of ether for the cost of deploying the smart contract, while our recovery address has stayed at 100. So this indicates that this worked properly, and we did get the confirmation right here. So when we drop this down, we see everything that we saw first on the contract I had already deployed. So now we're going to go through the process of minting the first NFT. So we'll select the account below, which is 03C or O3C, and we'll use this as the first customer. So we're going to type in 810 Way. So remember the cost that we had set for the NFTs. We should be able to change that cost in here as well. Let's see if we can find where that is. Set mint price. So we can change the mint price. We'll be testing each of these. These are a lot of features, so I probably will break this up to make it digestible. But we have 810 set, and then we'll scroll down here and we're going to hit mint NFT. Boom. So like I said, we proved the concept. We were able to mint an NFT for 810. And if we click it again, we're going to see that we get the max supply error reached. And so that's essentially just because we had set it so that we can only mint one smart contract at the moment. Now check this out. We can see here that it did process the transaction. We were able to mint the NFT for 810 Way, and 810, I know that number sounds like a lot, but one Ethereum is $3,000 and one Way is like one of these decimals all the way at the end. So it's really like fractions of a cent. That's why I'm pretty sure the gas fee that covers the transaction is more expensive than the actual mint price, but it's just to prove the concept. So now we currently have an account that is holding the NFT. So we're going to go ahead and go back to our owner account. And just so you guys can see, there's what's called modifiers in this contract that make sure that only certain people can perform certain functions. So for instance, this being the holder account of the NFT, it's not the owner. So the owner is the only person who's going to be able to actually send out money. And I'll show how that works. So we're going to put some Way into here. And if I go to deposit profits, I should get an error. Yup. And we'll see ownable unauthorized account. So that shows that only me as the owner can actually deposit the profits, which is exactly what we would want. So now we're going to go back over to our owner account right here. And then we are going to deposit our first profit. So let's just say, for sake of example, we deposited 1 Ether. So we've got the owner account selected. We've typed in 1 ETH, which is how much we'd like to deposit in the contract. And then boom, we get the green check mark. It worked. We deposited that into the contract. So we can actually see that here now in the balance up at the very top, right? Maybe, I wonder if when I tried to initially deposit that 810 Way, if it actually did, because I do see 81 at the very end. So I guess it's not a big deal, since I, as the owner, could just withdraw the profit if somebody did accidentally send ETH to the contract. But me, myself, I'm the only person who should be able to send this Ether anywhere. Now, typically, especially in the beginning phases, I'm probably going to send this as soon as I deposit it into the smart contract, just for security purposes. But later down the line, I am going to integrate a front-end interface. So people who own one of the NFTs, they can go on there and they can manually claim the profits themselves. I do want my project to have a high amount of interaction, because the more times people interact with it, the more they're going to talk about it, the more they're going to remember it, the more they're going to want to work with me on future projects. So I'll show an example of trying to send out that money from an unauthorized account in a second, but first we're just going through the basic functions of showing how this works. So owner account, we've got 1 Ether already deposited into the smart contract, and we are going to distribute funds. So boom, we got the green check mark. We can see now that the contract's balance is 0 ETH. And if we go ahead and look back up here at our first NFT holders account, we can see that it increased by 1 Ether. So this means that I was successfully able to transfer Ether from the smart contract to the NFT holder successfully. This is the key functionality behind everything that we are going to build. We're going to be able to use this with real estate when we buy A-class apartment complexes. This is going to be larger projects. We're going to be putting in a few mil into these projects to buy in some of the top areas. I live in Florida, and so that is where I would like to buy. But I do want to work with professionals who are in other areas. So real estate, we can use this with real estate. We can use this with businesses like roll-ups, obviously. private equity has loved the business acquisitions space over the last few years. So again, those are the two main avenues that I'm looking towards long term. I'm doing the microgreens for two reasons. One, I like growing plants. Two, I like healthy food. Actually, I'll give you a few more reasons. Three, I want to prove the concept. Given this is something that's relatively novel, I know most people don't know what a smart contract is, and most people definitely don't trust the word NFT. Sometimes I'll say the word NFT to someone who I'm talking with, and they're like, "Ugh, like the monkeys." So it is what it is, but my job is going to be kind of allowing people to see what the actual functionality and value proposition is with smart contracts. So then once they actually grasp the concept, they'll probably be thinking, that's actually a really smart idea. Have you tried this out? And then I'll be able to say, actually, I grow my own food and I started a business around it and I was making good money with it. So what I decided to do is I decided to open up the opportunity for people who have watched my journey building smart contracts to essentially support my business. I created a few digital online products that I sold. And then once I sold the products, I just kept track of everyone who bought one. And every month, when I make profits from my microgreen business, I just shared some of those profits with the people who supported my digital product. And so, like, essentially, it proves the concept and it shows that this works. And once I show that this works and people are starting to grasp that concept, I guarantee I'm going to be able to build an audience around what I'm doing and work on bigger projects. Because obviously, if I wanted to raise money for an apartment complex, unless I found like 3 or 4 crypto whales, I'm going to need a significant amount of people. And still, even once I do find those crypto whales, the whole goal of working with people who have a lot of money on ETH is hopefully they can help provide some publicity to show some of the smaller players, hey, this is a good project. You guys should check this out. So that is the basic functionalities. I think I did forget to include this feature actually. So I want people who bought initially into the project to be able to sell at any time, especially given if I'm, regularly depositing profits on a monthly basis and people are making good returns on their money. There's going to probably be other people who would want to buy their NFT contract for a higher price and they could exit for higher than what they had bought it for. So I want people to have the ability to set a price that people can pay to be able to have the NFT transferred to them. So that way the original minter can sell the NFT, they can take their profits, and then other people can buy into the project itself. I do also need to set royalties. So I do need to make sure that is integrated, and I'll make note of that real quick. I'll probably go over the next video how to make sure that that's included into the smart contract. So let's just, here we are. So testing, microgreens fund, notes, for ChatGPT. So this will be probably what we go over tomorrow, which is making sure that this has the ability for people who minted the NFT to set a price and sell their NFT to someone else. Now, we also do have security features in place. We'll be testing that as well in future videos. But other than that, we have all the functionality included here that we wanted to for our project. So we'll go into including this in the next video, as well as testing out some of the security features and the other functions that we have in the contract. So with that being said, I will be back on tomorrow to integrate those last features. And with that being said, I will catch you guys on the next video.